Morning, everybody. This is the first session in the Strategic Leadership track for the day, and this morning we have Shane Nuessler speaking to us from the University of Canberra, who is the Manager for Scholarly Information and Environment. So he's responsible for the teaching and learning systems and for the library systems, and he will be speaking to us about From Library to Lighthouse, Leadership and Change for Academic Futures. So I'll pass you to Shane.
Thank you. So originally I was going to present with John Powles, who was Director of the Teaching and Learning area at the University of Canberra, which is an amalgamation, I guess, of policy, academic quality, library services, teaching and learning, and educational technologies. And since John is leaving, I've worked with Helen Taylor, who is the university librarian at the University of Canberra. We were all involved in what I'm talking about. So in 2014, a reorganisation of the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Education portfolio at the University of Canberra is undertaken. The change consolidated several centres, as I was just describing, housing expertise in academic development, policy, educational technology and library services, and technologies under one teaching and learning directorate. That was quite a shift from the siloed organisational structure that had existed before that. The aim was to ensure a more seamless process from academic policy and staff development to course design, and to create new synergies that would result in the development of enhanced services for staff and students. So just bringing us closer together under one roof. Well, not under the physical roof, but under a structural roof. The reorganisation required a significant shift in thinking about services and systems that supported teaching and learning. And there was a need for staff to change and adapt to the changing context. So different ways of thinking within teams emerged. The breaking down of the siloed approach that each area had taken previously, specifically regarding library and learning management systems. Consideration soon turned to the teaching and learning experiences across all of the environments in terms of the library and the learning management system, the library management system, document delivery, reading list tools and that sort of thing. One of the first ideas to emerge was to create a conduit to enable access to the library resources and services from within the learning management system. So once the environments came under one group of, or one sort of set of thinking around the experience as a whole, we started drawing connections between what was previously two separate environments, starting to join them up, creating pathways between them. So while library staff had, and that took the form of putting the discovery layer search box into the learning management system so that as students were drawn to the learning management system to go to their units and find other resources, they could more easily access the library resources. So while library staff had always led the way with technology relevant to the library, often seeking out new technology ideas, trying them out, mastering, embracing, and sharing them, what was new for library staff was thinking about technology from additional lenses. So this was a leadership challenge that required staff to add to their ways of thinking an educational point of view along with course design policy and new ways of teaching and learning. The reorganisation, bringing these groups together, brought together the technology teams from both the library and the Teaching and Learning Centre, consolidating technology support for both library and learning management systems into one team. This had very immediate outcomes, such as the consolidation of effort, transparency and accountability of system support and development, and the support of seamless integration of the library resources and services into the learning management system. And the example is of what happened after that was, one example is bringing search together with the learning management environment. The new organisational structure allowed for staff from both the library and the scholarly information and environments to work across the space of traditional library and learning technologies. And for library staff, it manifests itself in a number of ways. So Helen reports that library staff, for example, offering subject matter expertise in consultation with educational technologies in a meaningful way, such as through the reading list management tool, which is, as part of the procurement, we've procured a tool that allows, sort of empowers the academic to create the reading list, but it also empowers the library to make alternative recommendations to the items that academics have chosen. Also allows students to rate and recommend alternatives, and for staff to share lists. So library staff are now supporting both staff and student use of the learning management system as well, not just the library systems, and developing new service offerings such as a 3D printer service, so bringing together, I guess, the collective, technological know-how of these groups has enabled, creation of new services within the library. Library staff participating in the procurement of new entire virtual learning environment. So everyone was involved in, I'll go through the systems in a moment, and implementing the new systems this year with particular emphasis on the seamless integration of library resources and services, regardless of origin or format, within the learning management system where possible. So the new organisational structure also allows library staff to be involved in other teaching and learning activities, such as library staff as part of the course design team, alongside faculty, staff and educational designers, to develop new courses and revise existing programs. The role of the library staff is to identify new and/or refresh existing resources in support of courses. And as we know, the nature of resources are changing from, somewhat static things to more interactive things. So the line between actually a learning technology and a resource is kind of blurring. Input into university policy development, such as teaching and learning policy, involvement in the marketing of Interface, which is University of Canberra's digital dashboard, analytics dashboard, available to students through the MyUC portal, and possible inclusion of library analytics in future developments. I think typically, you get engagement analytics out of learning management systems and other things, but, there are so many more touch points than those systems such as the library environment. So to try and bring analytics data out of the library engagement into the overall bigger picture of student engagement at a university as well. And new and expanded staff development programs aimed at helping academic staff improve the experience and success of students. So the new structure has resulted in a more holistic way from multiple departments of thinking about the student experience. So there's no doubt that the restructure has enabled a rich collaboration of staff across what is now the Deputy Vice-Chancellor academic portfolio. Now more than 2 years on, library staff are reaping the rewards of this in the following ways. Staff are learning and developing new skills, often in non-traditional library areas of learning, such as designing e-learning designing e-learning, including that within the graduate certificate in tertiary education, learning about new technologies such as 3D printing, which are certainly non-traditional in the library space. Staff are meeting and working with colleagues that they haven't worked with before. In some cases we're co-located, in other cases we're not. But we're sharing knowledge and expertise with each other more under the current arrangements. And staff are increasing their career options. So they're much more able staff in the library who have sort of, hit a wall, I suppose, to say, at a certain level, and they can't really move anywhere within the library now, moving, cross-team and into areas that they hadn't been in before, say, system support or, platform managing, things like that. So their staff are increasingly developing leadership potential, particularly through participation in the broader teaching and learning projects or programs. And staff are increasingly engaged and committed to continuous improvement of learning and teaching at UC. What was once perhaps a single library view is now a view seen through a number of different lenses. So this is where the library has, this is what the library has found through this new structure. Most universities are currently thinking about courses and classroom activities and adapting these in order to meet current student needs. As the library is an essential part of the university, so too it needs to adapt to this changing educational context, meaning the shift in roles, knowledge and expertise for staff. In this digital age, learners expect their learning experience and resources to be enhanced by technology and to be online, where they are allowing flexibility, collaboration and innovative use. The connection between the library and the learning was established initially via the restructure in 2014, has matured over time since. The structural changes gave rise to the development of a very carefully designed procurement process designed to take the library to the staff and to the students in the virtual space, going far beyond search. Essentially, we sought to create a lighthouse via type systems integration that guided students to the information they will require on their learning voyage. So the idea that you take the library to where the patrons are, you take the library to where the staff and the students are, rather than them having to find it. And going back to the idea of the Library of Alexandria and the lighthouse guiding people to where the knowledge is, we are essentially trying to remedy a void that has been created between teaching and learning systems and the library environment, and trying to bridge that gap by bringing those environments together through the virtual tools. I'm not sure how many of you have direct access to the library through your learning management system, or you expect students to go off through the website and find it independently. How many? Can I have a show of hands? How many have it integrated? Okay. And is that a recent development? No. Okay. How many have the reading list tool, say, integrated with the learning management system as well? Okay. And those who don't, so these tools exist in sort of separate spaces and you have to manage them, yeah. That's, okay. So in May 2015, the new team implemented library search in the LMS using the existing summon search box, which is pretty easy to do. It's pretty simple though. It's basically just taking the search code and dropping it into an HTML box in what was Moodle. The two peaks in the middle there are, I guess, what happened when that box was available within the LMS for 2 semesters anyway. And I think during an update it sort of got dropped off, and my team didn't really notice, but it's back there now. But just putting what the students and staff need up front and within the environment they're in will result in higher usage of library resources. So in the context of the teaching and learning, managing a number of the major environments, the library-related systems as well, UC undertook to identify other synergies and functionality that would better support student and staff workflows. So everything above the dotted line, but not including the course and units database of the systems that I manage now, have done since 2015. The ones below are largely, corporate systems. So you've got the learning management system, integrated library management, portfolio, virtual classroom, text matching, scenario-based learning, lecture capture, discovery layer, document delivery, reserve, and digital asset management. And when you combine that with the shift and other trends such as mobile access, it was clear that, well, it is, we all know that the higher education context is quite different from even a few years ago and is constantly changing. So the structure resulted in thinking of this set of systems as a whole, as opposed to two discrete areas that have to try and work together. So we sought a VLE that would enhance the learning, teaching and research experience of staff across UC, enable further development of collaborative, engaging and seamless interactive learning and teaching activities, integrate with other UC systems and technology services, enable the university to remain responsive to and be in step with sector and global technology trends, and an evolving information technology environment, enable access and or collaboration by students, staff and alumni of the university, its partners and guests, etc. Have good usability, clearly demonstrated by positive user experiences of the service, meet the required international accessibility standards, BYOD, be fit for purpose and that kind of thing. But overall, what the service needed to do was to be friendly, organised, easy, intuitive, integrated and seamless, engaging and fun, socially connected, mobile enabled, dynamic and powerful. So these are the words that came from, or the themes that emerged from a review which took an effective experiential user-centred design approach to requirements gathering as opposed to your traditional functional requirements gathering approach. And basically what that means is that you talk to people about, you identify the touch points within the teaching and learning process, so moderation assessment, just talking to peers, talking to teachers, tutors, finding information, that kind of thing. And then you start to ask questions like, what does an ideal experience of searching for information look like? What do you value most about a system? Or what do you value most about, or what does talking to your friends look like or mean to you in an online environment? And you start to get a sense of, if you take moderation, for example, you might say, well, what does your ideal experience of moderation look like in an online environment? Things like that, so that you can start to, and it is subjective, but you start to build a picture of the pathways that people want to follow and what they value about the tools that you're trying to provide. And you can do the functional stuff later, like what colours and buttons and how many clicks and stuff like that. But that. So as mentioned, teaching and learning undertook a major review of the VLE using surveys and workshops with students, staff and senior management. Using the gained insights as a foundation for requirements, UC released a request for information. And as I say, we took an effective user-centered design approach. We went to the open market and identified vendors who could meet one or more aspects of the required environment. So we opened it up for vendors to be able to collaborate, to join up, to either say they could do one part of it, or with these other vendors we can do 5 parts of it. As I say, it was going out to market for functionality that covered 10 systems. So we were looking for an experience. We were looking for a fruit salad, if you will, and it kind of, for people who are used to wanting to compare apples with apples, it sort of was a little bit challenging. But but the first stage was an RFI out to the open market, and then stage 2 was an RFP to select tenderers and shortlist from the RFI process. And you see, we retained the right to invite other people. So the procurement project itself followed a number of principles from ITM, the IT area, such as consider cloud first, consideration of accessibility, enabling enterprise reporting, anywhere, anytime device, reuse, then buy, then build, high availability, that sort of thing. But as I say, the main insights in terms of having a map of where we were going and the pathways between, if you think of a map of a physical campus, you've got pathways between things, and also the functionality within the buildings, all of that vision was established through the user-centered design approach. The library systems that I inherited were all up for renewal, and the learning management system and unrelated systems procurement had said all needed to be reviewed. So that's why, that was one aspect of why we chose to review all 10. But the other thing was that once you take an experiential approach to teaching and learning, the students and the staff are going to say that they're going to draw the connections between these things anyway, just by the fact that when you get an assessment item, you want to look at the unit outline, you want to get the assessment item in the first place, you want to talk to a friend about it, you want to search for information, you might want to find, you might want to come up with a draft, submit it for text matching, or checking plagiarism. You might want to set up a virtual classroom session with some peers. You might want to talk to your tutor in another environment, and eventually submit it, and the moderation process happens, that kind of thing. And then you want your grades back. So when you talk to students about the experience as opposed to functional requirements, they're basically going to tell you they want the whole thing anyway. Through that process. So what we ended up with is a project that involved procuring not just one system, but the whole virtual learning environment, and we needed to compare fruit salads with fruit salads rather than with apples to apples. Therefore, the evaluation process consisted of 4 stages. Stage 1 was a detailed evaluation of the responses against business and technical evaluation criteria. Stage 2 was a financial evaluation of the proposed solution pricing. So taking the individual submission and product submissions in isolation. 3 was a customized vendor demonstrations, not only demonstrating the capacity of the tool or service, but also how it integrated with the other tools. Often procurement will get the LMS, and then it'll get the lecture recording, and then it'll get the library system, and then it'll get the document delivery. And at the moment we've got, out of the 4 library systems, there's 4 different vendors because they've just been brought on at one time individually, and then the next one was brought on individually, and the next one. So one of the advantages of doing it all at once is that you can, through the procurement process, you can actually see whole entire ecosystems of environments working together. and how that compares to another one, and so that formed part of our evaluation criteria as well. And of course, you know, at the end of the day, value for money, risk assessment, and final rankings and all of that. So as a result of the chosen environment, as a result of the procurement, we have Canvas, which offers very good learning tools, interoperability, support, very strong APIs, very high levels of ease of use, and rolling updates. Elma, Primo, Leganto for the library systems. Leganto has a lot of social aspects such as sharing and workflow, collaboration between library staff, academic and student supported. Social aspects, so students can rate and comment items and they can suggest alternatives. So I'm not sure how many of you sort of, you know, are very familiar with static reading lists. Tools like Leganto make those much more interactive, and a collaboration between the library, the academics and academic staff and students, as opposed to, here's my list, go put it in your tool things and give me a link so I can put it in my LMS. Consolidation of, so Alma offers consolidation of functions into seamless workflows, operational efficiencies are gained, as well as tight integration with Primo and Leganto and Campus N, which is our campus mobile solution. And Primo, the search engine, or the federated search, offers personalised ranking, improved user experience, maximising the impact of library resources, and device neutrality. And the other systems we're still sort of working through contracts. So just to wrap up, I suppose, rather than taking a functional requirements gathering approach, so first, you know, the new, under the previous structure, I would have procured the learning management tool, the lecture recording, text matching and some other things, and the library would not have really necessarily come into my radar. But under the structure that exists now, because one person is looking after, you know, all those technologies, it does have a bit of an impact. And whereas in the past, you know, the library would have eventually procured their own systems, it would not have necessarily guaranteed that there would have been a seamless, logical and experiential connection between the library environments and the learning environments. Any questions? Comments? Stories?
Yeah, I just wondered how long it took to generate a collaborative culture between the teams. Was there any challenges there?
Yeah, well, yes. It took a year or two, I suppose. Melanie Pittard has experience with this as well. She was my predecessor in the role. And there were, I would say, significant cultural differences between the different groups, kind of like putting oil with water. But it eventually mixed, and then that's all muddy.
I think there were some real struggles at the start as to why this had been done. So it was about half, I was there for a year, it was about halfway through that, like 20-something stuff, and a whole different portfolio to look at. So that was something that was challenging. Luckily, I was able to work really closely with her. The fact that it gave you the new opportunities, you could start to delivery or processing with people, and it's not really the most part of that organisation, but that sort of stuff that had been really limiting for them, they suddenly got a whole lot of new opportunities. And you know, I think that's important, particularly in small organisations. Sometimes in one bit there isn't anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
Even before I left, there was starting to be that kind of blurring of the lines between the two groups.
And we can all be noisy in the workroom now, so that's really cool. Well, so it's a federated search across all the databases that the library has access to. Yeah, and hopefully in the future we'll have, you know, results from Google Scholar and all that kind of stuff coming through as well. Hash? No. No, I'll never do that again. It was a huge mistake.
Okay. So can you all please join me in thanking Shane? That was really interesting. Thank you.